Dude, high school me would have benefited so much from this video. Picture me as a junior in high school and at the time attending one of the most competitive and cutthroat school districts in New York. Like, I mean, people would literally do the most snake shit possible. And so fast forward, it was the end of the year and all the people inside the year above me were making their college decisions. And so when I looked at what type of students out of the class were getting into top 20 universities and highly competitive BSMD programs, I noticed that almost every single one of the students was involved inside our school's research program. Unfortunately for me, you had to join this research program as a freshman inside the high school, and I actually moved into the high school during my junior year. So what did I do at this point? I literally freaked out. For a solid month or 2 months during that summer, I was desperately scrambling to find any research opportunity I could get my hands on. Like, I was literally hitting up all the people inside the year above me that were inside the program about how they did research and if their previous lad had an opening for a research intern. And I cold emailed like almost every single university professor on Long Island. And how many research positions did I secure? 0. At the point where I realized I wasn't gonna get any research opportunity, I distinctly remember how inadequate I felt during that time. Like, I genuinely felt like because I didn't have research, I wasn't gonna get into any of my top choices for college. But the craziest part about all that is that research wasn't even something that I enjoyed. I actually disliked the idea of doing research. Like, I was not passionate about it at all. It's just that I saw every other person inside the STEM field doing it, so I thought I had to do it as well. Fast forward to my college decision time, and it turned out that I didn't need research to get into the Ivies or highly competitive BSMD programs. All I needed were extracurriculars that I genuinely cared about and that I was involved with throughout the entirety of high school. In today's video, I want to share with you the single extracurricular which made my application Ivy League level. And my goal with this video isn't just to try to flex how amazing I am like some of these other YouTubers are doing, but instead, I just want you to realize that starting a nonprofit that raised $1 trillion or basically curing cancer isn't the only way to get into these schools. So the extracurricular that I was involved with since 8th grade and which got me into these schools was Future Business Leaders of America, or FBLA for short. Later inside this video, I'm going to share with you why this one extracurricular got me into several top 20 colleges. But before I do, I just want to provide some context about what it was that I actually did in FBLA. So just to give a quick overview of the awards I received through the organization, I was a national finalist twice, first inside my freshman year inside the event PSA, and then the second time was in my sophomore year for the event Digital Video Production. I also received state and local awards for these events that I was competing in, but that's just kind of assumed because I qualified for nationals. I also placed first at the New York State level in PSA during my junior year, but I decided not to go to nationals that year for personal reasons. In terms of leadership through the organization, I served on the New York State Public Relations Council in my junior year. I served as a campaign manager for the Florida State VP in my sophomore year, and my most proud accomplishment was running for New York State president in my junior year. Besides these state level positions, I held several local level positions in some of my school chapters. If I'm keeping it real, being a part of this organization through a high school was just super effortless for me. Like, I wasn't actively involved inside the organization because I thought, oh, it might help me with college applications, or I saw someone else online do it, but instead I just did it because I genuinely enjoyed every single moment of it and I liked the person that it made me be. So the real question is, how did this single extracurricular help me to get into these super competitive schools? And I came up with 3 major reasons for that. The first reason is that FBLA truly enabled me to show how I overcome obstacles. And what I mean by this is, despite the fact that I moved in the middle of high school, and if any of my friends are watching this, they're literally gonna clown me because I always mention that I moved into the middle of high school, but the only reason I mention it so much is because it genuinely affected me so much in so many ways. Like, I seriously just want you to imagine for a sec that you were heavily involved in several activities in your freshman and sophomore year, and you maybe even had leadership positions at some of them, or you were gonna get leadership positions once you were an upperclassman. But then one day your parents are just like, all right, we have to move. And then in your new school, you have to restart everything, or the activities that you were doing previously are just non-existent. So yeah, there's a lot of extracurriculars that I did that I had to completely stop once I moved. But FBLA wasn't gonna be one of those things that I let that happen to. I had wanted to run for a state position since I was a freshman in high school, and I was super committed to still being able to do that in my new high school. And the fact that I still managed to run for a state position, even though I'd probably been in New York for less than 6 months at that time, just reflected my commitment to the organization and ability to overcome obstacles for things that I genuinely care about. Now, this reason's obviously gonna be unique to me, but I want you to think about what it illustrates for you. It illustrates how my most significant extracurricular has a story story attached to it. And if you look at your own most significant extracurricular, then you should have a story attached to it and a why. The second reason that this is my most significant extracurricular is because this is one of the few extracurriculars that I was able to achieve both state and national recognition and leadership in. Now look, if you're just built different and able to achieve national recognition in basically any activity that you touch, then I mean, good for you. But for most normal people, achieving national recognition inside an organization or an activity means sacrificing our time for other activities. Instead of spending time doing useless extracurriculars like NHS or attending weekly meetings for a club that I did not care about at all and didn't achieve anything in, I focused my time and energy on FBLA among other activities and really excelled in them. The third and final reason why this extracurricular got me into the Ivies is because through my deep involvement in this activity, I was able to set myself apart from other applicants, especially STEM applicants, by creating a defining feature or a spike in my application. Having a so-called spike in your application is arguably one of the most important things when applying to colleges. These highly competitive colleges would much rather accept a student who is incredible at just one thing compared to the student who is alright at several things. Because the person that's incredible in just one thing has a higher likelihood of leaving a lasting impact on whatever field it may be. And this is the kind of student that Ivy Leagues want to accept. The type of student who will leave a lasting impact on something. But don't get it twisted, like I'm not telling you to just force yourself to commit to any activity that you don't really care about. And just because you've seen someone do it that got into Harvard, you're also gonna do it. Like, no. Instead, as corny as this sounds, to find this defining feature for yourself, you want to try to get involved in as many school-related or not school-related activities and find what you genuinely care about. And if that just so happens to be research, then make sure that you're fully involving your time and energy into research. Like you're attending state, national, local competitions, you're trying to put yourself out there as much as possible, and you're spending hours inside the lab. Or if that happens to be chess for you, then make sure you practice so much to the point where you're able to qualify for state or national competitions. And during your downtime, you can even set up a nonprofit or just an organization where you go to your local library to teach children how to play chess, or you organize your own local chess tournaments so that everyone can sharpen their skills. Ultimately, what you want to do is find what you're passionate about and involve yourself as much as possible in that. And that's all it takes. Anyways, if you want to know the rest of the activities that I did in high school besides FBLA, make sure to click the video on the screen. And until next time, peace!